Scriptures. He knows the Word of God. He's been given all this wisdom, and yet he messed up. And you read Proverbs, there's a lot of wisdom there, but you read Ecclesiastes, and you say, wow, what happened? And it seems like maybe at the end of his life, he got right with God. When you look at Ecclesiastes, we'll just turn there, Ecclesiastes, the last chapter. You figure he must have got things straightened out with God. Ecclesiastes 12, he says, verse 1, remember now thy Creator. Ecclesiastes, verse 12. It's a good thing to do. Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. When you're young and you got strength and you can go long hours, and you ought to give it to God and do all you can for the Lord while you got the strength. Because when you get older, it gets more difficult. I'd marvel at how I used to just drive and deliver and drive 500 miles in a day or more and make deliveries and get home and then get up and do it again. Now I drive and I need a long day and I need another day to recuperate almost, especially here in the Philippines. So the thing is, you need to get the wisdom of God. You need to ask God for that wisdom. The charismatics and the name it, claim it crowd, the prosperity gospel, they got it flipped around. It's like, well, you get saved and God's going to bless you with all these things. Well, he may not. You ought to just ask for God's wisdom and knowledge. And the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So you need that. So we see here with Solomon that you can have all this wisdom, but if you don't keep short accounts with God, if you don't keep yourself repented up, you can get astray. You'll go astray like he did. So, and see there on your paper there, we look at, some other men of the East. You have Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah are a good example of how God will bless with wisdom and knowledge when they don't give in to the pleasures of sin for a season. The book of Hebrews 11:25 points to Moses, who choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season. In verse 26, it tells us how Moses, esteeming the reproach of Christ greater riches than the treasures in Egypt, for he had respect unto the recompense of the reward. So Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah, that's their Hebrew names. They were blessed by God because they didn't compromise. Turn to Daniel chapter 1. We're looking at the men of the East and the wisdom they had. The Chaldeans were known to be wise. The Persians were known to be wise. And here we see that Solomon had more wisdom than any in the East country and any of the wisdom of Egypt, according to the Bible, and I believe that. I'll go with the Bible, what it teaches. I know that those pyramids, the Great Pyramids, are a marvel, and I don't even know that the Egyptians at that time built them. I really don't know who built them. I got some ideas, but I'll kind of keep them to myself right now. Somebody built them, and somebody with precision and engineering that we cannot duplicate now. The idea that a bunch of Hebrew slaves or any slaves, used logs and carried those 5-ton or whatever granite blocks and moved them 100 miles or more is beyond belief. I don't buy it. Somehow, someone, I think maybe before the flood, but maybe after, I think it's before the flood. But I don't want to go into that realm yet. So anyway, Daniel chapter 1, verse 17 through 20. Well, some of you know how this goes. They're taken prisoner. They're young men at a young age. Not only are they taken prisoner, but they're made eunuchs. Can you imagine that? If anybody could get a little bit angry at God, say, why do you let this happen? Well, I think that would be the case, but you don't see that. And you see that, that Daniel decided, and he's kind of the leader of these